Oh, ready to go.
Let's get right into it.
So I think first we should probably just give a little bit of background to what Project Daydream is, what we're trying to create here. I don't know. I'll defer to you to start with, like what the goal is here.
I think it's out here trying to make sure that we're living our 9 to 5 as we want it to, and doing what we want to do and trying to chase dreams. I think we're super privileged. I think this is like the first true generation in history that you can get paid for literally anything. There's people in hobbit homes in the woods making videos on how to survive, and they're making hundreds of thousands. There's people eating food on camera and also making hundreds of thousands.
Literally.
Like, I think it's kind of the first generation where you can do literally whatever you want and get paid for it.
Yeah.
Which is an awesome blessing, and we're trying to take opportunity of that.
I think also it's like this idea exactly that, where it's like the kind of possibilities out there are endless. You just have to, learn and figure out and grow into what you actually want to make out of your life. I think a lot of people are stuck doing something that they may not necessarily really be passionate about, they may not really identify with. And so our goal to kickstart those thoughts and we're not going to be able to make you successful unless you have that in your mind first. So we want your life's goal, your life's project to be create your daydream, make your daydream your reality. And that's why we like the name Project Daydream, because
100%.
Through the project, which it's a project, right? It's never fully finished. It's a work in progress. And through that project, you are achieving your daydream step by step by step. And that's something that we want to relay to you guys and just make it something where it's a learning by doing, right? Like Aiden, myself, we don't have it all figured out. We're just working on making this reality. So yeah.
I think it goes back to one of my favorite and least favorite quotes is that if you find a job that you love, you'll never work a day in your life.
I think about this all the time.
In reality, if you find a job that you love, you'll work 80 to 100-hour weeks every week.
You work more.
Sleepless nights, work 4 times as hard as you normally would.
Yeah.
But you're loving every second of it, so it's not painful work.
Yeah. I was just watching the Logan Paul Impulsive podcast where they were talking about, he doesn't call work. He's like, I'm doing this and doing this, whatever. But he doesn't actually consider what he's doing work because he never has. It's always been the alternative for him because, when he was 13, 14, 15, he probably was like, I want to make videos. I want to be doing that in my time. I want to make Vines. And it's like, okay, cool. So that's actually what he wanted to do. And so, yes, there's work involved in that, but he doesn't consider the greater picture, this is my job, this is work. It's it's fun for him. And fun, there's a scale when it comes to fun, right? Things can be more work style, answering emails is probably not super fun, but in the greater scheme of things, he's doing it because it allows him to, at the end of the day, make more videos, create more content. That's what he's doing.
I think that's the big way of all the big YouTubers and influencers right now is they all started doing something for fun, especially because when we were kids, I made videos when I was younger, but no one got paid for making YouTube videos. We lost social clout. We were weird in high school because we would make little goofy skits and stuff, and that was just what we wanted to do. And now you see the kids that are making goofy skits are living at the Sway house with millions and millions of TikTok followers and making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year.
Yeah, and now anyone who's jealous is just okay, cool. Well,
what are you going to do about it? Yeah,
exactly. So, the whole game has changed. And I think, it's a trial and error thing too. Not everyone is going to make videos.
Definitely.
That's fine. Just go out and do something where, it's something that you really want to do. It's that gut feeling. It's if you're working that job, whatever it may be, you could be sitting in an office or you could be working at McDonald's. It doesn't matter. Whatever you see yourself in an ideal state, wow, I wish I could do this. Some things, being a professional athlete, some things it's are you naturally talented at it or are you not, right?
Yeah.
You got to be somewhat good at soccer to become a professional soccer player. You also have to put in hundreds and thousands of hours of work. But you have to start with some talent. There's a lot of things that you can self-teach yourself. There's a lot of learning that you can do. There's so much online now where it's your daydream may be very, very attainable and people put these massive roadblocks in the way to convince themselves that it's actually further away than they think.
Definitely.
It's really a mental game at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think it can go both ways. I always see the argument of LeBron James just signed his new contract, and I think he's getting like $5,000 a minute, and people are like $5,000 a minute to play basketball, but it's $5,000 a minute for the hundreds of thousands of hours and decades of trying to become the very best in the sport, and now he's getting the same thing. Like David Dobrik's getting like hundreds of thousands for an Instagram post.
Yep.
But think about how much work and effort
it's all
you have to put in to make it like profitable 100%. To post on Instagram. You're going to sell over hundreds of thousands of what you're posting on Instagram.
Yep.
But yeah, the Instagram post thing might be super easy, might be awesome, but it's so front-loaded with work.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, delusional. I love telling people this, and it's like, and we'll get into the topic that in a second. It's honestly really true. I think like a lot of people, they'll watch sports games or whatever. This guy sucks. This pitcher, like he sucks, or like this guy sucks, whatever. But it's like they've still made it to as a professional athlete. The amount of hours of work that takes. It's like the worst player in the NBA is still so good and has put in so much work that it's like, it's all relative, right? Like the best player in the NBA is 1 in a billion, right? But the worst player in the NBA is still like 5 in a billion. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just so...
No, we went over this in stats, and it's like a super fun comparison that, if you take the entire starting 5 of the All-Star team, they all are 1 in a billion players.
Right.
And if you look at the entire NBA as a whole on a statistics graph, they're all so good that they're outliers. They're not even considered on the graph of how good you have to be to play basketball.
Yep. And if you look at just the NBA, I'm sure, then it's more of a normal distribution.
100%.
But if you look at all basketball players, it's like...
You literally couldn't even see them.
You wouldn't even... it's just crazy. Yeah. So... I think and kind of now to switch gears, I know there's not a great way to do this, but there's this debate, right, of whether it makes sense to, hey, like I'm just gonna focus on basketball, I'm gonna stay in my lane, I'm gonna do that. That might be something that you want to do, or someone who kind of is, I wouldn't say a jack of all trades, I wouldn't put it that way, but more of a, I try 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different things. And I think there is this like debate. Gary Vee talks about this interview that Virgil Abloh did, and he posted this like a week ago where he was like, you should be working on like 6, 7, 8 different things. It's been key to his success, he says, and just being able to have a lot going on and manage a bunch of different things is part of that entrepreneurial journey, is being able to manage a bunch of different things. But then you also have people who are like, no, you have to focus. You have to become skilled at something or you'll be skilled at nothing. And I just think it's a super interesting debate.
I mean, I don't think there's a right answer to it. So I read the book Essentialism, great book, highly recommend it to everyone. But basically the whole viewpoint on that is if you want to become great at something, you have to do just that. All the time that you put into something else is just circling up. Right. And I read this book and I was like, okay, I'm canceling all of my, I'm a content creator, but I'm canceling all my video projects, I'm canceling all my graphic design projects, I'm a photographer now. Yeah. And I called up Zach Onover, who's a mentor of mine, great guy, manages the YouTube group Yes Theory, and he was like, stop that. Like the whole way that I've made it through my career is being a Swiss Army knife. Right. And if somebody needs me to cut a hole in something, I can do that. If somebody needs me to screw in something, I can do that. I can open a bottle, I can do this. And I'm really decent at like 20 things. And I'm not great at anything, but I'm really good at this whole plethora of things. So I'm a one screw fits all. And I think that is really good in business, to be able to be that kind of person that you can do this, you can do this, you can do everything for people.
And for him, it's figuring out, okay, what tool set am I going to be? Because a Swiss Army knife, it'll have 20 different tools on it, right? Mm-hmm. So you can't just start adding past 20, right? Like at a certain point, the functionality, like you wouldn't want a Swiss Army knife in your pocket that was like this big. You're like, it can do everything, but it's like, but no one wants to carry that, right? Like, it's ridiculous. So it's like, you have to figure out, okay, like what are my 20? And at the end of the day, right, if you look big picture, like the Swiss Army knife still is a Swiss Army knife. It's relatively focused. You can screw, you can whatever, it has pliers, but like at the end of the day, it has its own set of functionality that you won't be able to find somewhere else. So it is somewhat specific, and I agree with what Zach says. Like you do have to kind of not spread yourself too thin, but find a niche where you can excel. So for example, photography, if that's what you're doing, like videography is not a bad thing to start taking up, because if you start doing videography, you're only expanding your skills at using a camera and creating and being creative and working, editing and whatnot. Like that's all within the same package, right? So you do become a Swiss Army knife then. And then if you start doing, okay, I'm doing videography, I'm also gonna do video editing and color and all these different things. Now you're just adding skills that you can now start bringing in revenue. If you're a real entrepreneur, you'll start dragging in revenue from these different streams of different skills. So now you can edit videos, that makes you employable as an editor. And you also have your business in photography. So you can, but it's not like you travel too far outside of this sphere.
The argument's still tough because I think both ways are right. Like it's because even when Zach is telling me to be a Swiss Army knife, he's also telling me that he's doing the best when he's managing only a couple people at a time. And it's the same argument. Like Ray Allen. No one's arguing that Ray Allen's the greatest basketball player of all time. Maybe some people, but Ray Allen's not the greatest basketball player of all time.
Right.
A lot of people are arguing he's the greatest shooter of all time.
Yep.
He picked one thing, got really good at it, got paid a ton of money to do it, and was great. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the tough argument. Is there, like, especially in photography, like I see all these photographers now that come out though, and they're like, I want to be the best studio photographer, I want to be the best wildlife photographer, portrait photographer, lifestyle photographer. So to some extent pick one and grow that, but you can still do the others, but like set one.
Totally.
But it's just so tough because at the same time, like if you're trying to be a portrait, like John Snip's a perfect example that I come to mind. He's like this photographer that every photo that he takes is from here to here and here to here. And he just has crazy eyes. And that's his thing, that's his niche. Yeah. He blows up, he's one of the best at it. Yeah. Great for him. Like
but if he started doing something completely different, like if he started now doing like wedding videography, like I think honestly for him, like
he would be fine.
Yeah, like it'd be okay. I think but another interesting one, because you brought up Zach again, like I think it's so true, right? Like he started with yes theory, and he didn't go out with the mission like, okay, I'm gonna find like 10 different creatives to, because I put a lot of parallels there. He wasn't like, hey, I'm gonna find 10 different creatives to manage and just see which one does the best. You're spreading yourself too thin. And a lot of people in the management industry know it's like 1, 2, or 3, right? Like past 3, you kind of spread yourself thin, right? So you really got to focus. So he focused on yes theory. He blew them the up, right? Like he made them huge. And then he was like, all right, cool. I've taken what I've learned here, and now I'm gonna apply it to like different other industries, right? I'm gonna go into music. He just started managing this Brandon. Yeah. So he just started managing this guy. Burnett. Yeah. And like, if you gone to Brandon and was like, hey man, like I like your vibe, I like your music, I think this is great, I think you have what it takes, like I really want to work with you, I want to help you grow. Obvious first question for Brandon, okay, cool, what have you done in the past, right? If he shows him a list of 20 other people but no growth, it's not great.
Doesn't matter.
If he shows one great example, it says everything he needs to say, right?
So that I think leads like perfectly into like how I think about skills. And like I think of like each skill that you have as a bucket, and you have water. Yeah. And so many people nowadays line all their buckets up in a straight line and just go back and forth. And what you have to do is you make a pyramid and you pour everything into the first bucket and it's gonna overflow and bring down. So Zach became I'm willing to say the best manager of YouTubers.
For sure.
Right off the bat.
For sure.
And guess what? That started to flow down. He started doing he did the Cheeky Boys, which instantly blew up on TikTok. TikTok. He went into music. Now he's got clothing lines now, but it's all trickling down.
Right.
And he's getting really good at one, and once that's full, then you fill up something else. You don't like go out with the intent of I'm gonna do this.
See which one works, right? Because you can't truly manage one thing really well if you got 10 things going on. It's tough.
Exactly.
And I think it's a great, like I love that bucket example too, because you look at what is Zach's mentor, Scooter Braun, and dude kills it with Justin Bieber, dude kills it with Asher Roth, and now look, right? Like
you're set.
You have a full lineup, a full roster.
As soon as you can prove it's like,
and that's true with anything, right? Think about
literally
even
anything.
in your realm, right? Photography, right? If you absolutely crush at doing one thing, people are gonna wonder, okay, this
He can
guy's
do other
good,
things.
right? Like he's skilled, right? Like he's a good photographer. So that must mean that if he knows video, he's probably pretty good at it, right? Like he's got the skills.
It transfers over, and that's like my biggest tip that I always give to people like that start out as wedding photographers. Like, how do I book weddings? How do I book weddings? You go, you take one attractive friend, you take another attractive friend, you go to all the bride shops, the groom shops, all the wedding shops, and you ask them to sponsor it. You'll feature them, and you throw a fake wedding, and you show that you can take really, really good photos of the fake wedding. I've seen people do it. A killer photographer did it with like 2 of the inflatable T-Rex costumes.
Totally.
He did. Then like another photographer did like 2 bigger guys with like hairy bellies, just shirtless, a wedding between the 2 of them, and they're just 2 of his friends. But the photos came out beautiful. It's funny and it's pretty. And now everyone's like, okay, he can shoot weddings. He just proved it.
Right.
Don't tell everyone that you can shoot weddings. Like, go out, speak it into existence, and do it.
Right.
And that also just shows, then people are like, look, he did it once really well. He can do it again. Even if it was a planned thing, they don't even have to know it was a planned wedding. You just show them the photos. If you have
100%.
proof that you can do it, you can do it.
And then you have to pick that thing too. You have to pick it with intention. You have to pick it with purpose, and then just be like, this is what I'm doing. This is my thing. I'm gonna excel at it. And when people start to notice, then I know what I'm doing. Then I know it's clicking, right? And I think if you don't fully swing through, right? And I think that's like a huge component on it, and something. I think that's like the full takeaway, right? Because at the end of the day, right, you can do a bunch of different things, but you'll know that one's truly working when you follow through, right? You step up at the
100%.
plate. If you're just standing there waiting and kind of checking the bat every time, it's like, are you ever gonna hit a home run if you check swing on everything? No. So I think that's a good point, right? Like, you don't want to do it. You can do a lot of things, but if you're check swinging on every single one of them, bro, you're not gonna hit a home run. You have to be able to step up at plate and you got to swing through on everything.
Also, I feel like the learning graph, like I see this all the time, people point out that like your learning is slow, and then it shoots up. You hit a point where you break through, and so many people stop, like right before the break. So if you're gonna do it,
100%.
do it.
Yeah.
But I think another important thing, which is like a great, Matt Como told me, which was great advice, was if you would like go and become the best in the world at this one thing, but don't tell people about it. Don't blast it everywhere. Don't tell everyone about it until you come out and you're the best in the world. Because guess what? You want to become the best studio photographer. You start learning studio photography. You tell this person, I'm going to become this. They're going to start having you do studio photography for them because you're saying that. You're going to turn around and it's going to be and you're going to be absolutely then guess what? You're a studio photographer. Like, go and also, if it's competition, like if you're doing something completely new to the game, just keep quiet, go into a basement, work ridiculously hard,
and then come out.
One of the best in the world at it. Then come out and you'll sweep everyone off their feet.
Yeah, because they'll be like, how do you do it so fast?
Literally, exactly.
Because that's the other thing is too, like I fully believe in don't talk a big game until you've done it already. I think that's something that you also agree with. Like, this is just kind of true across the board. It's like, I almost think now it's like if I say it before I've done it, I'm setting myself up for failure. I never
100%.
And that's not to say that I don't want to go out and put the energy out there like, hey, I'm doing this, hey, I know it's going to be successful, and like you said, speaking it into existence. I fully believe in that, right? But what I don't believe in is going out and saying, hey, this is coming soon. Hey, hyping it up.
Do it.
Never hype is so like I can't. I have to get away from that, right? I think everyone needs to get away from that because everyone wants to hype up their project. Everyone wants the eyeballs. And it's like, honestly, like, I think that's the worst case scenario. You need to go in with no one looking because really what it's about is what are you doing when no one's looking? When no one's focused on you, how are you spending your time? Are you chilling, scrolling through Instagram, or are you actually putting in the hours? Like, that's what it comes down to, I feel like. At the end of the day.
100% agree. I also think like learning a new skill is always going to be a roller coaster of ups and downs.
Yeah.
And those downs are so much harder and more aggressive if you have those eyes looking at you. Like,
100%.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. That's why you have to. Even when you win, it's like when you win, no one's watching. When you lose, no one's watching. So you shouldn't even care what other people think because at the end of the day, like, no one's watching. So like make all the mistakes you can possibly make right off the bat, and if you win, awesome. And when people find out, they'll find out. You don't need to blast it. You don't need to every step of the way show it on your Instagram story.
100%. I just saw a great TikTok that was super corny and cheesy, but it like fits in great. And a teacher goes into her class and she does like the multiplication tables, and she goes like 1 times 1, 1.2, 1 times 2, 1 times 3, all the way up to like 9 times 9. So there's like 80 problems on the board, and she
Yeah,
made sure that the first one was wrong. She did 1 × 1 = 4.
Yeah.
And she finishes, and all the kids are laughing at her and teasing her, and she's like, this is a lesson. Like, if you get one thing wrong and the next 63 things right, everyone's gonna laugh if you got one thing wrong.
Right.
100% true. Like,
Totally.
people are like definitely want failure. Like, people like to see failure.
100%. And I just literally 2 days ago was watching with my roommate. I was watching the Scooter Braun interview on Complex. So interesting. Highly recommend. Dude, I mean, he's just a genius. And like with the whole interview is outstanding because it goes right back to what you were saying about a lot of people give up right before they're about to learn the most, right? Before the success even starts to happen, they give up because it gets tough, right? Yeah, no, right? So I think the big thing is, right, and this is what he talks about, he says, life is like you're standing up at bat at, at Fenway Park. I say Fenway, but he said Yankee Stadium, whatever. Basically here are the rules, right? If you get a home run, you get the big prize. Here are the rules though. Everyone can show up. Everyone in the world gets to come to bat. They can swing as many times as they want. Okay? So one person gets up at bat, and everyone's booing them like, "Hey, you scumbag! Like, come on, give everyone a chance, right? Like, someone else a chance." All right, fine. They give up. Okay. A lot of people won't even show up because they don't think they can. I can't hit off this pitcher, like this pro pitcher, whatever. Okay. And then you have this one guy, right, who gets up to the plate. And he doesn't care what everyone says. People are screaming, they're booing, they're like, get this guy out of here. Like, the last guy took 10 swings, this guy's, going for 6 hours. And then finally, he hits the home run. Guess what people say? He's stuck in there, this guy's a champ, he's stuck in there, he hit the ball out, he didn't care what other people say. So the moral of the story is, no one cares anyway. People are just gonna remember what you did right anyway. So if you fail 1,000, 2,000, 500,000 times, it doesn't matter because all you have to do is hit one home run in your 100-year life, right? All you have to do is hit one home run and people remember that.
So like basically what you're kind of talking about right at the end there was how many times you can fail and no one cares, and it doesn't matter as long as you find success once. And the perfect person to resemble that and talk about that is Thomas Edison with the light bulb. He failed thousands of times, and after years after, a reporter asked him, like, why did you fail 1,000 times? Is it hard to keep going? Did it look impossible? And he basically responded that he never failed. It just took 10,000 steps to find the light bulb. And I think that's super powerful.
I think he also said, like, stupidity, or what is it? Insanity is making the same mistake twice and not changing anything.
That was Einstein.
Oh, is that Einstein? Okay.
Stupidity is doing the same same thing over and over again, expecting different results.
I think they're literally they're very closely related too, because one guy's saying, hey, never stop trying because you're going to learn something every step of the way. And I think that's the key. It's like, did you learn something or did you fail blindly and then move on to the next thing with no prior knowledge of it, right? Like, the dude never would have invented the light bulb if he had done it 10,000 times and just kept doing like the same thing, never learned from the mistake.
I think Edison talked about that too. He said that none of his inventions he ever credited to luck of helping him find the right solution. It was always just steps and failures.
Because you try one thing, you're like, oh crap, that didn't work. All right, well the problem was this. Okay, that made a different problem. All right, and he just kept learning and learning and learning. It's like eventually, you're gonna figure that out. I think that's the process with everything. You have to fail before you get success. No one's ever gonna get it on the first try. Like, that's ridiculous. Especially 100%. The biggest things in life. You can't ever expect that they're gonna happen on the first try. You can't even expect that they're gonna happen on the 100th try. You should never go in with an expectation.
Expectations and comfort are the two worst things in the world.
Completely agree.
You can get fired from the safe route. Things can go wrong on the safe route just as much as they can go wrong on the hard route. So why would you not try your best to do the hard route, follow your passion, follow your dreams? Yeah.
Like, that's the difference, right? People think like there's safety and then there's like uncertainty, right? But it's like life is uncertain in general, right? Like you could get fired tomorrow. No one thinks it's going to happen, but it's entirely likely.
It happens to millions of people.
Right. It's like just look at what's happened like recently with the pandemic, right? Like, people got fired and laid off. No one would have expected that a year ago. And it's like really funny because a lot of people are like, hey, if you looked back in like 2018, anyone who said this is my 5-year plan, right? They were wrong. They were wrong. Every single person was wrong. any single person that got laid off or fired or furloughed that said, hey, I had job security, not anymore, right? So it's like the expectations that people think they have in these safe roles and these safe jobs or doing something, it's like, yeah, I don't love it, but hey, it pays the bills and it keeps my family safe. It's like, okay, yeah, you know, like there definitely are things you can do that ensure that maybe you can provide. Totally get that. But at the same time, it's like if you're young or if you have the time, what are you doing? You know,
Yeah.
like it's not any less safe. It's not any less certain. And any illusion of certainty is false, you know?
I think we're running out of time, but I think that's the perfect close to what Project Daydream is about. It's about fighting the adversity, not listening to what people have to say, sticking in it, and waiting until you hit that one home run, and not giving up, and not getting comfortable, and not...
Never listen to the people who are going to boo you, because there are always going to be people who boo you, and there are always going to be people who say you're going against the grain too much. Like a little bit's okay, but don't push it, right? Mm-hmm. That's too risky. And it's like at the end of the day, like who do you want to listen to? Like, do you want to make your daydream happen, or do you want to listen to what people are saying?
100%.
True. Thank you guys for watching. This was dope. Next episode 3 is coming at you next week. Subscribe, like, share this, and I'll see you next week.
See you next week.